Hello and welcome to this episode of The Rest is Entertainment Questions and Answers edition. I'm Marina Hyde.
I am Richard Osman.
Can you please hit me with a question? Just hit me with
one. Of course, I have a question for you from Kate Fitzgerald. Thank you, Kate. Are all the male TV presenters getting pre-emptive hair transplants in their late 20s? Or do they wear toupees until they start to thin and then get hair plugs? Where are all my balding screen kings at?
You're so right, Kate. The answer is hair transplants are massive and everyone's doing them. The Rock, Jason Statham, maybe Jude Law. I mean, that's it, okay? And those guys have cornered that bit of the market, right? They're big stars and whatever. In the pandemic, loads of A-list stars got their hair, and I can't be that specific about them, but so did people like, some people say they've had it done. And if you're looking at, actors or comedians in this country, Jimmy Carr will say he's had it done. James Nesbitt will say he's had it done.
Yeah, Louis Walsh.
Does Elon Musk say he's had it done? He's had it done for definite, okay? Musk has had it done. I know he's a free speech person, so he's never going to sue me about it. It's not even libelous. So, joke's on him. Anyway.
I'd love it if Elon Musk sued you.
So would I. Oh my God, can you imagine how much I'd like to go? I would love it so much to go down to the High Court, down the Strand with Elon Musk.
Great publicity for the podcast.
How many columns would I get out of it?
Oh,
do you know what I'm always thinking? Just kind of get a column out of it. Come on. There are these other drugs that people take. What are those ones called? Propecia and finasteride maybe. Anyway, but all actors and lots of them are having, and sports stars, and I'm talking US.
Pop stars.
Having the little, temple, these bits.
Yeah.
What's this called?
Filled in.
Okay,
yes.
those bits filled in.
Widow's peak.
And it's happening all the time. And yes, I mean, this is completely widespread to the point that you don't see anybody who has hair loss or is balding or is completely bald, apart from those ones I've mentioned. Honestly, they're just, character actors I'm not counting. In terms of leading men, there aren't any, and everyone's doing it.
And there was a certain generation of those people in it who maybe missed the boat, because there is a point at which, everyone in British television has had one. Yeah. Every TV presenter. There are no bald TV presenters left because they all had it. Maybe people in their sort of later 40s and 50s who missed the boat and went who went too bald
too quick. The
spray
on hair era.
Couldn't get it done.
That was a thing. That can thing was a thing.
Well, that's the thing. So why don't we notice, and do people have it done preemptively? I don't think anyone has it done preemptively. The one thing on TV, you will notice very, very quickly if you are going bald, because you have incredibly bright lights shone at you and cameras looking at you from every single angle. So any man who was ever worried about losing his hair, you put him in a TV studio for 5 minutes, he's really going to worry about losing his hair. They have an amazing thing on TV, all makeup artists have it, which is this thing called nanogen, it's almost like salt and pepper, and you put it in your hair and it's got like 50 different colours, so they match it exactly to your hair.
What is it, spray on hair?
It's a powder essentially, and then you hairspray it on it. It just fills in any possible gap that you might have.
Nanogen, I'm great by this.
And whoever you are, however thick your hair is, if you put you on TV, you will look like you've got gaps. So nanogen is this thing, and any contestant who ever comes on a quiz show, literally it changes their lives. They go, oh my God, this stuff is incredible. You tap it in, spray it on, and you absolutely wouldn't notice, and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't sort of drip. You don't have...
Giuliani.
Yes.
Giuliani with the black drips down.
You're not going to go Rudy Giuliani. So anyone who's even slightly vaguely losing their hair would use that, and then they get to the point where any single male TV presenter who even vaguely needs it done will go and get it done, just filling in little gaps. And Turkey, I think, is the place the influencers go. Most TV presenters go to Dublin. There's a guy
We're not advising you to go to Turkey, because a lot of bad things happen in Turkey, as far as I can work out from these clinics that are half the price.
But also not advising anyone to get this done, because if you're not sitting your entire life under incredibly bright lights, you don't need to have it done. And the guy called Dr. Maurice Collins over in Dublin, he does, I think Jimmy Nesbitt, who's been absolutely open about having his done, I think he went there, Louis Walsh, same. And so they go and do it there. So they get it done as soon as it even vaguely starts. But TV hairdressers are so good at artfully making it look like you're not bald by kind of, combing your hair in various different directions and styling it in certain ways. But they'll be the first people to say, oh, yeah, maybe you could have that done. And every hairstylist in television knows 10 clients who've gone and had a hair transplant. And I think the reason everyone has it done is it seems to just work for everybody.
Yeah.
It's people's own hair, so they take it from the back of the head and they put it in any places where there might be gaps, and grows back, and no one seems to notice. But certainly there are big stars, big sports stars, big TV stars, and you can look at photos of them from 10 years ago. You look at photos now, you go, okay, I kind of see it. Yeah. But their TV hair always looks immaculate because they've got good hairstylists. There'll come a point where a hairstylist says, if you want to continue having this sort of haircut, you might need to do something artificial. So that's why we don't really ever see any transitional bit, because someone's done the work for you, and then at the point where they can't do it anymore, people fly off to Dublin and have it done.
But in Hollywood, to answer that other little bit of Kate's question, which is the hair pieces bit. So I'm, say there are actors, someone like Chris Evans, Captain America. I mean, I personally think he's had it done, but he will. It doesn't matter, because he would have been wearing a hairpiece in every single scene anyway. When you're shooting something like that, in order for the hair to look immaculate all the time and to make it much easier, almost every man is wearing a hairpiece, so that it kind of looks sculpted and perfect all the time. And that happens with sort of everyone, including people who've got lots of hair.
And most women as well, right?
And most women as well.
It's just easier for everybody to make a wig that looks like your hair, but immaculate at all times.
Yeah, some people have just like phenomenal hair, and that's what their hair is like, and they can get away with it. But in general, in order to keep it so that you're not having really long break between takes while they have to come and fix it all over again, it's so much easier to use hair pieces for everybody. And that's kind of, that's what happens, because it just saves so much time of the day.
And they stay exactly the same length throughout the shoot and all that kind of stuff. It's easier for everyone, which is weird, because sometimes people wear a wig that looks exactly like their real hair.
But it saves so much time of the day. It's worth its weight in gold, quite literally, I should think.
It's such a good question, though, because it's true. It's one of those things that become completely...
We could do a huge hair and makeup special.
Ubiquitous. Honestly, you sit and talk to hair and makeup, you get a lot of good stuff.
There's so much stuff. And also because it's the kind of place where everyone just tells all their secrets and cries and laughs, and just all the gossip happens there. Oh, here's one for you about Bake Off from Maeve Macaulay. She says, I was watching the newest Bake Off and I was thinking that, when it's the technical and Paul and Prue try the perfect cake in the tent, who makes the cake? Is it Waitrose the sponsors, or who? I love your tone, Maeve.
Thank you, Maeve. On all of these shows, whether it's Saturday Kitchen or Bake Off or whatever, or Nigella, all of these shows, they all have home economists. So that's a gig, and that is people who will kind of make the thing that's, I put this in the oven 6 hours ago and I've made this already. Or as you say with Prue and Paul, this is like the perfect Victoria sponge. Or that's a really boring example.
Yeah.
Like the perfect croque and bouche.
Yeah.
And so you'll have home economists who work on those shows, and not only are baking to make something taste nice, that's sort of not the most important. They're baking it to make it look perfect, like the perfect version of what you want. I spoke to the people on Bake Off. Their lead home economist, who makes all those things look incredible, it's called Hattie Baker.
Of course.
Of course it is. She says you get sent all the briefs about 6 weeks before filming. So then you send back your recipe so the crew can buy all the ingredients that you might need. Occasionally you'll change the recipe at the last minute, and then a poor runner has to go to the shops. And of course,
like when I'm making a cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, why did I forget that?
But Bake Off's always in like some country house. So
I know.
Where's the nearest shop? I mean, there might be a farm shop kind of 4 miles away, but they don't have an Aldi just around the corner.
Do you have any cardamom pods?
And so essentially the home economists will turn up. There's a special kitchen that they will cook that thing in and just make it look absolutely perfect. And then, like any kind of food preparation or any food shoot, they'll kind of spray it with all sorts of things to make it something edible, to make it look nice. But yeah, they have, on all of those shows, they have incredible home economists who do that. Because Paul and Prue, it's not that they are lazy and don't want to bake. It's they are doing other things.
Paul Hollywood lazy?
Yeah, no, I definitely am not.
No.
They're a makeup. They're shooting kind of the pre-titles. They're doing all sorts of stuff. But yeah, they're an incredible team of home economists. Can I tell you one thing I learnt from Hattie Baker as well,
yes.
which I loved? You cannot have dishwashers in the tent because they're so noisy that it affects the shooting. And so every single bit of equipment has to be washed by hand by a team of...
In a sort of field tent out the back.
Yeah, exactly. Or
like war.
Like a mash tent. It is absolutely a form of war.
War by other means.
And each series requires 1,000 dishcloths.
What happens to them?
The dishcloths.
They don't wear through.
Yeah, but
can't they dry them out? They're in the garden.
Yeah, but there comes a point where a dishcloth gets too soiled. You got to be careful with a dishcloth. Marina Isabel Lyons has a question for you. I have a question about pregnancy tests in soaps and TV dramas. When a close-up of a positive pregnancy test is shown on screen, has a pregnant woman had to pee on said stick, or is there a way of faking this prop? There must be a way of faking it, surely.
Well, first of all, okay, you can actually just buy fake pregnancy tests as a sort of prank thing. So they either use one of those.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's a whole, by the way, if you go on the internet about something like this, there is a whole section of people just saying, this is one of the worst things you can do. This is sort of like, men anxious not to be caught by a woman. I feel like I'm in a novel from a very different time. But you can also, if you want to actually show it happening, apparently.
So turning from clear to blue.
Apparently heat or lemon juice can work. But also sometimes in order to just do it, they just take the test apart and do a fine red line with a thing and they use it like that. And it's not, but you can actually buy fake ones on Amazon for very little money if you want to do a hilarious prank on someone. Yeah,
that would go on my list of, I'm absolutely sure if you were making a TV program and someone had to do that, you wouldn't get to the stage where you said, can we find a pregnant woman and get her to pee on this, please?
Yeah, it would really hold up shooting.
It really wouldn't. And also, no one is pregnant. Okay, well, we are going to have to get someone pregnant. We are then going to have to get her to pee on a stick. Guys, take 10, everybody.
Can we cut this scene? Can we just say I'm pregnant? Can someone just say I'm pregnant and then we don't have to do this? Yeah. But anyway, there are ways around it. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Sky, who are proud partners of The Rest is Entertainment, where you can watch Sky originals, including Sweetpea, a darkly comic thriller starring Ella Purnell.
Marina, do you like coming-of-age stories?
I certainly do, Richard.
How about a coming-of-rage story?
Okay, yes, please.
That's clever, isn't it? Well, Sweetpea is a twisted coming-of-age story, as you say, starring Ella Purnell, who people might know from Yellow Jackets, Fallout as well. Unbelievable actor. She's Rhiannon, a quiet wallflower turned serial killer. So her life is pretty mundane at the beginning of it. She continuously is overlooked by her boss. A long-standing crush ignores her. A high school bully has resurfaced. And her dad is really sick. Then suddenly everything in her life is turned upside down. The wallflower is gone. In its place, a young woman capable of anything. Can she keep her killer secret?
I can't wait to see this. I love any form of, anyone just finally having had enough and losing it.
Yeah, if you're looking for a thriller with a great bit of dark comedy, which is exactly what this is, it's unpredictable. Rhiannon's kill list keeps growing. No one is safe. But the big question is, will she get caught? It's funny. It's very, very dark. The performances are extraordinary. It's strongly recommended. So watch Sky Original Sweetpea from 10th of October on Sky.
I'm going to go straight in with a question from David Brocklesbury about whose line is it anyway?
Brocklesby?
Yeah,
Brocklesbury.
Brocklesbury.
Yes, please. That's you know what? I often, I love people's surnames for books, but that's a village. Surely.
Oh, yeah.
Brocklesbury.
Brocklesbury. Yes, absolutely. I hope it turns up in one of your next books. Okay.
The train on platform 4 will stop at Brocklesbury, Hassocks, Preston Park and Brighton.
I feel like Brocklesbury was one of those ones that used to be a station, but in the Beeching Review back in the 60s now isn't one anymore. And
now some local entrepreneur has converted the station house into his home.
Yeah. Or a really annoying cafe and deli.
Oh, I'd love that. If there's a cafe or a deli in an old station house.
You'd visit.
Listen, I'd rather it was to the station.
Yeah.
But if not, make it into a deli.
Oh my God, I can't believe we haven't got to the question yet.
Yeah. And like a wildflower meadow on the tracks.
Oh,
that sounds delightful.
That's a whole mood, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chairs and
cycling
tables
trail.
out on the platform.
Sometimes you get the old steam train that you can spend 400 quid for lunch on. Yeah.
Anyway, David, thank you for your question.
David says, I've been revisiting the UK and best version of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Was it all really done on the spot, even the songs?
Thank you, Dave. Well, that was one of my first ever jobs in TV was working on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Well, the very short answer is yes, every single thing is made up on the spot. Yeah, the best thing about working on that show is the prize was always for someone to read out the credits. And so when you get a credit on TV, your first ever credit on TV is fun. And that was one of my first, but they actually read it out as well. You get like Colin Mockery, the nicest man in the whole world, and Ryan Stiles, who, by the way, is not the nicest man in the whole world. I just always said that Colin was. And they would read out your name. So that was super cool. Yeah, so on that show, every single thing is made up. The contestants don't know what's happening at all. The thing I used to love about doing that show is in the afternoon, you do a rehearsal. And that rehearsal is just so you know roughly what games you're playing and the cameras they know what they're shooting. You would play the games, but with completely different suggestions. But the improvisers, because it's what they do, they would just do their own show. They just a completely different show. So I would watch 2 episodes in a day. So my job was program associate, which makes it sound like it's written, and it wasn't. But the job of a program associate is just, if you've got a game like party where, Ryan's holding a party and 3 people come in, they ring on the doorbell and he has to guess what particular quirk they have. The job of the program associate is let's think of 30 different quirks they could be. The sort of things that audience members would shout out. But no, every single thing was made up. The songs are made up. The songs is always the thing on that. I would always think, how on earth are you doing this? You'd have things like Hoedown, which like Stephen Fry and Colin were just like, oh, please don't make me do this. Or I think hilariously they used to do rap briefly and very briefly. But, you get people like, Josie Lawrence or Mike McShane doing songs, and they would like produce these incredible sort of like numbers from a musical, which kind of had internal logic and rhyme and rhythm and jokes.
Absolutely phenomenal. It's like magic. It's a form of it's
witchcraft.
Yeah.
And so the temptation is to think that they've been shown this stuff before. That no one had seen a single thing. No one knew a single thing. I've seen shows since, a couple of things that supposedly improvise and stuff comes up. You're like, oh, that's weird. You're getting someone to sing a song in an impression that they can already do. But in this one, every single thing they would turn up and it would just absolutely fly from start to finish. And you saw the occasional dud which didn't make it on air, but not very many is the truth. And so that was a really, really joyous program to be involved with. A really nice, one of my first ever gigs. I did it with a guy called David Young. We were the program associates, and he later sold 12-yard productions for like 50 million or something. So he did all right. It was, every single thing is made up. Every single bit of it. No one knows what's happening. Lots of these people have worked together before. And, if you ever do improv, there's certain routes through certain things. You can kind of help each other out a bit, but you're not reusing material. And certainly you don't know what's happening. You just have a real kind of natural rapport.
Our comics are improvs.
Yeah.
But we don't have such a big tradition here as the States, which has a huge improv tradition. But so many of their actors
come through that.
Whereas fewer of our actors have come through improv. In fact, very few.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting when you're sort of filming something and you've got it and you've got everyone's coverage, and then you might do a loose take at the end where they can improvise. So many of the American actors are unbelievable, which isn't to say that British actors can't do it, but so many of the American actors have come up via improv things, still often have improv nights that they do with another, actor, and they still do kind of shows because they still like the live thing, even though they've mainly moved into screen acting. And they've got these huge troops, things like, I don't know, Second City or whatever.
In Chicago, right?
They come up through. And it's a big thing for their actors to come up through improv as well as their comics. So I always find it sort of fascinating. And you sometimes find that they come up with something you think, oh, right, that will be the one we use then.
Yeah, but yeah,
we spent 6 months trying to write this thing.
Anything like The Office. So Steve Carell was Second City, wasn't he, in Chicago? Yeah. He came up through that. Or, you watch Veep and people like Matt Walsh. They're just, it's absolutely in their bones, that sort of thing. So, give them the script and then let them improv. But yeah, it feels like witchcraft when you're watching it for sure.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely 100% on the level. Question for you, Marina, from Kieran Murphy. You often hear in news reports various versions of has been asked for comment, XYZ has been contacted but no one has been put forward, was asked for comment and refused. Are they just various levels of platitude depending on the particular reporter's view on the people asked, or are they meaningful based on a timeline of ask, answer and legal concern?
It's a bit of all of those things that you've mentioned, Kieran. One, just to dispense with one of them quite quickly, if you've said no one has been put forward, I always think that means what you want to say is, we're doing our jobs, but why aren't they allowing themselves to be scrutinised? It's quite petty. Well, it's not really petty because I suppose you're talking about something like COVID contracts and, really Matt Hancock should be there to front up and explain why he did what he did.
Well, listen, we know what he was doing instead.
Yeah. By the way, there is a fairness obligation under the Ofcom code. Ofcom's what regulates the media in this country. And so if you're saying, if the allegation is like quite small, like, I don't know, nothing too big, then you can probably just put in a news story, has been asked for comment, and you might update when they get back to you. If it's serious, and this is the trouble, if you've got, it's really difficult to know when to, if you're, say, we can start on lots of different things. If you've done an investigation and you've got lots of serious allegations, you really have to think about when you go to the person. You ask them on a Friday and you're a Sunday newspaper, then they will really you might find that they try and injunct you before Sunday.
Yeah.
So you have to think, what's the shortest amount of time that is still an okay amount of time? And then they don't try and spoil your story by saying, okay, I'm going to send if it's about an actor, say, this is quite an anodyne version of it, then you'll say, okay, if this Sunday newspaper is trying to expose to you, would you like an interview with my client saying, I'm so sorry, I've done X, Y, and Z? And, I once remember a story about an actor saying, I'm addicted to Nurofen. Right. Okay. That was not what that was to do, but you've done some sort of plea bargaining of what you'll actually say I'm addicted to. Sometimes in lots of investigations, they're really complex and there are all sorts of things you have to say. They have to have been given a right to reply, but often people will try and then just tie you up in lawyers and
or get the show taken off air.
If it's a TV show, they will just say,
like
you can't run with this. You can't run with this. We're going to stop you running from this because we deny this, but we haven't had a chance to put a response. So it is a completely movable feast in how long that time takes. And if you've given someone 3 weeks and they haven't got back to you, and it's some of the most serious allegations, it's possible you can go ahead. And that will be taken as mitigation. But if it's a very serious, you're still subject to the same libel laws. And if they decide to sue afterwards and say, you can say, well, we came to you for comment and you never said anything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because what you're dealing with at that point is the fact of the allegations. So you could say, but we did try. And it will be a sort of mitigating circumstances, but it won't get you off the hook. And it is a huge part of any form of journalism, documentary journalism, news journalism, print journalism, anything, is giving this right to reply.
Yeah, I know people who've been off in sort of war zones and have shot incredible footage and this, that, or the other, and they're cutting everything and they put together these incredible documentaries. And then, there's a month at the end where they say, oh no, you have to ask the Taliban their view. Yeah. And then you have to wait to hear what they've got to say because legally we can't put it out.
Because you sort of accuse someone of a war crime as an example. Not that I'm suggesting that was you will, you often see at the end of documentaries there will be like a right to reply. You'll see, or Watchdog or something, and it will say this company, say that they didn't do this and that they followed due procedure, and that's essentially that right to reply. You cannot put out the preceding stuff without that bit at the end. Where it comes, it doesn't have to be at the end. If it's really serious, you'll see that sometimes that big Sunday Times investigation will have the 5th paragraph will say they've denied all this, and then you'll get right on into it for the rest of it. Yeah. But you can't just... There's a whole thing about where it comes and how much prominence it's given the denial. You can't just sort of tack it on at the end of 40 paragraphs for some things.
But if you see something that is tacked on after 40 paragraphs, you know that the newspaper or the television company are fairly confident in what they're saying. If it's very early on, they're kind of going, listen, we wouldn't be publishing this if we weren't fairly certain, but we're very aware that this might be challenged by somebody.
In lots of cases, you might have to go to a press officer, and some press officers are great and really understand your deadlines, and you say, I am going to have to, when's your deadline? I don't obviously ring them 4 minutes before your deadline unless, you're very confident about whatever it is you're saying. But if you say, my deadline's at the end of the day and you ring them in the morning and they haven't got back to you, then I would say that press officer is either hiding something or is not very good. And the best press officers are the ones who understand your deadlines, will give you something by that so that you can understand slightly where you stand. But you don't want to develop these antagonistic relationships. Yeah. But having said that, many publicists do have very antagonistic relationships with journalists because it's war.
Well, also, it depends on who their client is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are certain clients where you can have a lovely relationship with the media and certain clients where you're always going to have a slightly more troublesome one.
Richard, Nina Hammond would like to ask something about first dates. I would love to know, she says, whether the couples in the first dates restaurant who aren't featured in the programme are also on dates or whether they're just actors or members of the public who are just there to fill the room.
The background dates on first dates. Thank you, Nina, for that question. Well, do you know what? I didn't even need to talk to the first dates people because I remember when I was back at Endemol, my PA, Kelly, who's the greatest PA in the history of the world and a hilarious human being, she went on a background date on first dates. She knew someone on the production and, they've got to fill like sort of 15 tables. So they said to Kelly, who was single at the time, she now has a absolutely lovely partner. And they said, well, will you come on a date? And Kelly's like, oh yeah, I'll go on a date. That's exactly how she talks. So she went on the date. So yeah, she said, listen, it's weird that you're on it. And obviously everyone's filming the kind of big dates around you. You're in the back of shot, so you have to look fabulous at all times. She said, but yeah, you're sort of being stopped every now and again. People are being moved around and you have to slightly move your table slightly to the left for a camera. So she said it was an unusual date. And I said, how did your date go? Yeah. And she said, well, put it this way, they give you £50 each towards the bill. And then they say you can split the bill or, one of you can pay. She said, let's put it this way, we split the bill. So I don't think it went great. Yeah, so every single one of those background dates are real dates.
Having a bad date in the background where you're like a non-playing character.
Yeah.
You're an NPC and
I know.
basically main character energy is happening over there and you've just got to, you can't leave, you can't create the whatever the emergency is.
Yeah, you can't just nip to the lead because you're sort of like an extra.
It's a form, it's really quite purgatorial in some ways.
But you could find love.
You could.
You know, and listen.
And no one would ever know because you're just an NPC.
Yeah, but it's a great story though. It's a great meet cute.
Yeah.
You know, because you could find a little footage of you in the background.
Great for the speech at the wedding.
Amazing for the speech, exactly. Just a little kind of tiny thumbnail of you. I don't know if anyone ever has.
Enhance. Like one of those.
But yeah, so it's for real. But yeah, I don't know if it's the best way you're ever going to find love. But next time you watch First Dates, I love First Dates, by the way. Then just know that every single person you're seeing in the background is on a very unusual date, but it is definitely a date. That, by the way, we've talked about how brilliant Jay Hunt is before. First Dates was a show that was sort of just entirely just like a fixed rig sort of show, and it was just sort of overhearing people's conversations. She's the one that turned it into, put Fred on it, had the staff on it, turned it into much more of a soap opera, and it went from a show that didn't do huge numbers to being an absolute massive hit. Just goes to show sometimes the same material, you put it in a
slightly recast,
slightly different wrapper, and it becomes a hit. But yeah, so from Kelly Turner, yes, it's a real date, but a deeply unsuccessful one.
I think that's all we've got time for, but please keep your questions coming. The address is therestisentertainment@gmail.com.
Yeah, that was a load of fun. Thanks, everybody. And see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.